Welcome to Anime Stark. In this what-if adventure, we'll explore an intriguing twist as we ponder what might happen if Deku and Toga Himiko tied the knot. Let's dive into the world of possibilities in part 1 of this unique journey. Chapter 1, Izuku's Girlfriend. On a quiet Saturday morning in Japan, families went out for walks on the streets, couples enjoyed carefree dates, and UA students took a break from their busy classes and homework. They were part of a prestigious academy and were grateful for the weekend rest. With this free day, some visited their families, while others decided to stay in their dorm rooms to simply relax or pursue their hobbies. Now, let's focus on Class 3A's living room, where some class members were gathered. These included Kirishima, Kaminari, Mineta, Sero, Ojiro, Mina, Momo, Kyoka, Uraka, Bakugo, and Todoroki. Sero, Ojiro, and Mineta sat on the floor, while the others occupied sofas. Specifically, Mina, Kirishima, Kyoka, and Kaminari shared one sofa, and Momo, Todoroki, Uraka, and Bakugo were on another. "Hey, does anyone have any interesting ideas for what to do?" asked the bored Sero, looking at his friends, as he had nothing to occupy his time. "How about?" Mineta was about to say something lewd, but he was quickly interrupted. "Nothing perverted, Mineta," Ojiro said wearily, then sighed. Mineta gave up on his idea and let his head fall back to gaze at the ceiling. "What if we talk about the class couples?" Mina proposed enthusiastically, raising her hand. "I don't know, that's mostly a girl thing," Kaminari chimed in, not entirely sold on the idea. "Do you have a better idea?" Mina asked with a smirk, and Kaminari fell silent without a counterargument. "That's what I thought," the pink-haired girl said victoriously, and Kirishima chuckled. "The first couple that formed in the class was ours at the beginning of our second year," Kirishima said with a calm smile, pointing to himself and Mina. "That still surprises me. I knew you two got along, but I didn't expect Kirishima to take the initiative," Sero teased, and Bakugo smiled subtly at the joke. "He didn't, I was the one who made it happen," Mina replied with amusement, causing Kaminari, Ojiro, Sero, and Mineta to burst into laughter at Kirishima's expense. He made a small annoyed pout, but Mina took his hand, smiling brightly, which brought an equally joyful smile to Kirishima's face as he snuggled closer to his girlfriend. "Ha ha ha. Seriously, buddy, you really got me there," Kaminari said, laughing at Kirishima, but his taunts were cut short by a sharp elbow from Kyoka. "You love to make fun, but in reality, when you were going to confess to me, you had a nervous breakdown and turned into an idiot, saying hey, I like you," Kyoka said with a playful smile. Kaminari nervously smiled, then turned to his friends, who looked at him amused, covering their mouths until they burst into laughter. "Don't be hard on him. That day, you came nervously to my room, and you couldn't say anything for an hour until you calmed down," Momo said with a small, calm smile toward her friend. Mina blushed deeply and embarrassedly looked away from Kaminari, who tried to sneak a peek at her face to tease her a little. "I expected you two to get together. After all, you're some of the top students in the class," Uraka told the dark-haired girl, who was sitting next to the ever-calm Todoroki. "Our grades have nothing to do with our relationship. If I had to say what brought us together, I'd say it was the study sessions during the final exams in our second year," Todoroki said calmly, while Momo remained silent and blushed as she gazed at her lap, as the memories of her getting closer to the two-tone-haired boy during those sessions were still fresh. "Wow, I didn't expect Momo-chan to be so bold," Mina said with a mischievous smile, while Mineta began to hit his head against the floor out of envy. "And no, it's not what you think. The furthest we've gone is holding hands," Momo exclaimed, very flushed and embarrassed. "It was to be expected. That half-and-half bastard couldn't have mustered the courage to act like a man," Bakugo said with an arrogant smile, looking at Todoroki, who narrowed his eyes with annoyance. "The farthest we've gone is kissing. In contrast, you probably haven't gone that far with Uraka," Todoroki stated bluntly, causing Bakugo to scowl in anger, while Uraka blushed with embarrassment and looked at her lap. "But this is truly incredible. The most popular kids in the class have partners, while we're still single," Sero feigned depression as he drew circles on the floor with his finger. "Don't be sad about it. We still have Midoriya on our side," Mineta exclaimed, with a thumbs up, as if this fact internally satisfied him. "You're right. In the 3 years I've known him, I've never seen Midoriya with a partner, even though he had girls confessing to him," Ojiro calmly noted. "If I remember correctly, there was that girl Hatsune, and also Nehire-senpai. Most surprisingly, there was Kendo from Class B. Now that I think about it, Midoriya is quite the charmer," Mina said with amusement, while Bakugo only clicked his tongue, looking away. He's probably gay, after all, who would turn down those three beauties? Mineta commented, crossing his arms enviously at how lucky the green-haired boy was. You shouldn't talk about Midoriya like that. Maybe he already had a girlfriend before, Todoroki calmly stated, and Momo agreed with him, causing their statements to draw the attention of the others who weren't sure if they were joking or implying that Izuku, being the top student, already had a partner, and no one noticed. Stop talking nonsense. It's completely impossible that Deku had someone, let alone that he could hide it, Bakugo said with a furrowed brow, and many agreed because they couldn't imagine the green-haired boy deceiving the entire class without anyone noticing. The conversation might have continued, but everyone heard footsteps coming from the stairs and turned to see the mentioned Izuku coming down in casual and comfortable clothes that highlighted his physique. He had a big, cheerful smile on his face. Hey, guys, what are you up to? Izuku greeted with obvious good spirits as he approached his friends in the living room. Absolutely nothing, Deku-kun. What happened to make you so happy? Uraka asked with a smile, while the others wondered the same thing. Actually, it's nothing. I'm just going out for a walk like I always do on Saturdays, the green-haired boy replied, still wearing a happy smile that was starting to annoy Mineta and Sero. In that case, I hope you'll be back before 11. You know Ida barely accepted extending the curfew by an hour, Todoroki calmly reminded his best friend, who nodded in response. I know, and thanks, Todoroki-kun. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go, the green-haired boy said, bidding his friends farewell with an animated and friendly smile as he headed for the front door. Are you meeting someone, Midoriya? Mina asked with a big smile, while Kirishima, Kyoka, and Momo facepalmed at how impertinent the pink-haired girl could be. How did you know, Ashido-san? Izuku asked, turning his head to look at his surprised classmate, who dropped her jaw in shock, while the others displayed their own astonishment. Anyway, I'll see you later. Goodbye, he said with an enthusiastic and friendly smile, then left through the building's front door, leaving all his friends in a sudden silence where no one said anything. Why, you don't think Midoriya really has a girlfriend, do you? Kaminari asked with a tense smile, looking at the rest who seemed unable to snap out of their amazement. In reality, we can't jump to conclusions. Maybe he's meeting a friend or family, Momo said, being the voice of reason, although she was genuinely curious about who Izuku might be meeting. Did you know about this, Todoroki? Uraka asked, intrigued, looking at the two-toned-haired boy, who turned to her calmly. Yes, every Saturday morning and Sunday night, Midoriya goes out for a walk and comes back late. He offered to have me join him a few times, but I declined because I had to study, Todoroki replied calmly, while Bakugo stood up from his seat in anger. Why the hell didn't Deku tell me anything? Bakugo exclaimed in frustration, feeling somewhat betrayed because his childhood friend and rival seemed more attached to the half-and-half bastard. Actually, he tried to tell you, but you always responded with insults or just walked away without listening, Shoto clarified calmly, recalling the many times the ash blonde passed by the green-haired boy. That's because he took forever to explain himself and started stuttering. Bakugo hysterically exclaimed, crossed his arms, and reluctantly sat back down on the sofa, while Uraka chuckled a bit at how tsundere her boyfriend could be. Anyway, I vote we follow Midoriya to find out if he's meeting his girlfriend. Who's with me? Mina declared with an enthusiastic smile as she stood up. I don't think we should. That would be invading his privacy, Kyoka said, conflicted within herself as her curiosity battled her moral compass. Kaminari was already on his feet, as were Ojiro, Sero, and Mineta. Kyoka looked at her boyfriend with disbelief at how quickly he agreed. Hey, you're probably just as curious as the rest of us. Besides, he's been keeping this from us, so it must be something significant, Kaminari said with a nonchalant smile, extending a hand to the dark-haired girl. She pondered for a few seconds before taking his hand and getting up. Only the four of you are left, Mina told Todoroki, Momo, Uraka, and Bakugo, while Kaminari got up with a nervous smile. He actually wanted to respect his friend's privacy, but he didn't want to go against his girlfriend's wishes, as she would find a way to convince him to join her, and that wouldn't be pleasant. Bakugo, what do you think? Uraka asked the ash blonde, who turned away in annoyance. I refuse to let Deku keep a secret from me any longer, Bakugo said seriously, as he stood up along with Uraka, who was very intrigued to know who Izuku was meeting, given that he had been her childhood crush. I'm also curious, and since everyone's going, I don't see why we shouldn't. What do you think, Todoroki-kun? Momo asked her boyfriend with a small smile. I'll go as well. I can't let Bakugo make a scene and embarrass Midoriya, Todoroki replied calmly, glancing sideways at Katsuki as he stood up with Momo. "What are you, his babysitter or something?" Bakugo asked angrily, hands in his pockets, as he began to walk toward the exit, followed by the others starting their Izuku spying mission. They left the dorms and discreetly followed the green-haired boy, trying to remain as inconspicuous as possible. This was quite challenging, especially with Bakugo in tow, who couldn't resist insulting Izuku for his popularity with the girls, oblivious to the fact that Izuku was completely unaware of those admiring gazes. His friends, however, couldn't help but notice them. "Shut him up before Midoriya can hear us," Momo instructed Sero and Ojiro, who had Minata's arms restrained and his mouth covered with tape, as the purple-haired boy was dying of envy at Izuku's popularity with the girls. "Look, he's heading to that fountain in the square," Mina informed the others, who redirected their attention to Izuku as he entered a plaza where families, couples, and other citizens were strolling. They moved calmly to the front of a cafe and sat at the outdoor tables, all with their eyes fixed on the water fountain to which Izuku was heading. Each couple sat at a separate table, and the three single friends shared a table, with Mineta tied to his chair with duct tape that Sero always carried. In this state, they waited for about 5 minutes, watching Izuku as he waited in front of the fountain, his radiant and happy smile never fading. Honestly, several of them were growing impatient, and it was only a matter of time before they began to doubt continuing with their mission. "This is a waste of time. He's probably just trying not to look lonely," Sero said with a bored sigh as he rested his chin on the table and looked through binoculars that Momo had provided for everyone to observe, as she was a millionaire. "Sero's right. He probably just said that to avoid seeming lonely," Kaminari commented with annoyance, playing with one of Kyoka's jacks until she grew tired of it and jammed it into his eye, causing him considerable pain as he covered his mouth to avoid alerting Izuku. "Shh, watch him," Uraka said, hushing the guys before pointing toward Izuku, prompting everyone to focus on him as his cheerful expression intensified. This left everyone intrigued and looking in the same direction he was. They observed a beautiful blonde girl with a slim figure, pale skin, and a height of 168 centimeters. Her hair was gathered into two messy buns on either side of her head, with a straight fringe of uneven length and two strands of hair that fell on either side of her face. She had striking yellow eyes and slightly long eyelashes that gave her a flirtatious look. She wore a tight black shirt that highlighted her chest, left her shoulders bare, and had laces on the sides of its sleeves that were intertwined down to the forearm. She also had on brown mini shorts that emphasized her firm and well-shaped behind, black stockings that went above her knees, accentuating her slender legs, and finally, black sneakers. The group was surprised to see her because they could confidently say that this girl was truly the definition of natural beauty, even in such simple clothes and with a messy hairstyle. This was something Sero and Mineta's nosebleeds could confirm. "Izuku," exclaimed the blonde with excitement, raising her hand in the air to greet the green-haired boy as she walked toward him. "Toga," responded the green-haired boy in the same manner as they both closed the distance between them. "She's really pretty. I wonder what's going on with Midoriya," commented Kyoka, her gaze fixed on the blonde and her friend. "We'll find out soon," said Momo, concentrating as she observed how they went from walking casually to quickening their pace as if they were in a hurry to meet each other. Izuku and Toga approached with big smiles on their faces. When they met, the green-haired boy gently lifted the blonde girl into the air, making her laugh, which surprised their friends. "Is she a cousin or something?" Ojiro asked, intrigued by the scene. Izuku stopped spinning her and hugged her close, his expression turning warm and affectionate. Toga smiled lovingly, her cheeks blushing, and she wrapped her arms around the green-haired boy's neck while he lowered her a bit, even though she was still looking down at Izuku. The green-eyed person held her waist possessively, and she wrapped her legs around the guy, bringing their bodies closer. Slowly, their faces got closer until they could feel each other's breath. Both of them blushed, and in the end, their lips met in a deep and loving kiss that left the group of spies completely stunned. Minera had a heart attack and foamed at the mouth as if she were angry. "This isn't something you do with a cousin, is it?" asked Sero with a tense and nervous smile, unable to look away from the scene. "Lucky guy," Kaminari said, open-mouthed and a bit envious of the green-eyed person, only to receive a hard elbow from Kyoka in his abdomen, leaving him breathless. I think this confirms that he has a girlfriend," Uraka said, looking at the others with a nervous smile. It was a bit embarrassing to see them express their love so freely in the middle of a public square. "Darn it, Deku dares to outdo me in the girl department too," Bakugo grumbled, annoyed, thinking his rival must have gotten pretty far with that blonde to kiss in public without the shyness he always had before. Izuku and Toga separated their lips to gaze lovingly into each other's eyes, and Izuku slowly placed her back on the ground. Both of their cheeks were still red as they closed their eyes and brought their foreheads together with happy smiles on their faces. After a few seconds, they pulled apart to look at each other. Momo produced a spy gadget from who knows where, a small radio to eavesdrop on their conversation. "I'm really glad to see you again, Toga," Izuku said, visibly excited, looking at the blonde. "I'm even happier. It's hard to only see you 5 or 4 times a week," Toga replied with a cute and playful smile. "The good thing is we're almost graduating, and we'll have more time for ourselves, don't you think?" Izuku said, his expression warm, as he took Toga's hand, and they began to walk. "You're right. Now, where do you want to go, Izuku?" Toga asked, tilting her head curiously. "Well, I made a plan we could follow for our date," Izuku replied with a nervous smile, scratching the back of his head, which amused Toga, earning a chuckle from her. "You and your plans. Let's do it my way and go wherever the wind takes us," Toga exclaimed with childlike enthusiasm, raising both their hands in the air, eliciting a laugh from the green-eyed person who enjoyed seeing her carefree side. "Sounds good to me, as long as you don't threaten anyone," Izuku said calmly, turning his gaze ahead, and Toga lowered their still linked hands, furrowing her brow in an adorable manner. "Hey, you know I can't help myself when I see some random girl trying to flirt with you," Toga retorted, making a cute, accusing pout and poking Izuku's chest with her index finger. "Offering me a discount on popcorn isn't flirting," the green-eyed person said with a nervous smile, remembering the incident at the movie theater in which Toga had caused a scene. Toga looked at someone as if they were a pervert, then winked and gave them her number, Toga emphasized, getting closer to Izuku and pouting, which made Izuku laugh a little. "Anyway, let's go to the movie theater a few blocks from here. I think they're still showing Venom," Izuku told the blonde. She automatically put on a big smile, her eyes lighting up with excitement. "Venom? Let's go before all the seats are taken," Toga exclaimed, excited like a little child, and then ran off, dragging Izuku along, who just went along with his girlfriend, eagerly awaiting the movie. The group of spies was still processing what they were seeing, and some of them wanted to make comments, but Mina immediately stood up from her seat and looked at them firmly. "Follow them and don't lose sight of them," Mina ordered them all, then grabbed Kirishima by the collar of his shirt and ran after Izuku and Toga. The others stayed silent for a moment before following at a more relaxed pace, preferring not to run like Mina. "Now, let's follow the couple who had just left the popcorn line." Izuku was holding a medium-sized box of popcorn and a large soda that he and Toga would share. The movie was about to start, and Toga walked with her arms wrapped around Izuku's arm, looking possessive, and glared at all the other girls in the theater who were looking at Izuku, some more discreetly than others. She didn't miss a single one, growling at them. "Don't you think you're overreacting a bit?" Izuku asked, nervously smiling and blushing at his girlfriend's behavior. "If you were a girl, you'd do the same, protect your territory," Toga responded seriously and militarily, not taking her eyes off the girls she believed were trying to steal her broccoli. "Anyway, the movie should start by now. Let's go in," Izuku told the blonde. She put aside her seriousness, showing excitement, and they both entered the movie theater to watch the beloved anti-heroes film. At Kirishima, Kaminari, Bakugo, Sero, and Ojiro's request, they wanted to buy tickets to watch the movie too. However, when they reached the ticket counter, they received the bad news that all the tickets had been sold out, which frustrated and disappointed them. Kaminari and Bakugo were consoled by their partners who felt sorry for them. They waited outside the theater for 2 hours until the couple finally came out. They were so bored that they even played cards, and the winner could play a prank on Mineta. This was because Mineta had caused a scene by harassing girls, and a cinema employee had scolded him and the others for being with him. After a torturous and boring wait, Ojiro alerted the rest to watch as Izuku and Toga emerged from the theater holding hands. "It was really amazing," Toga exclaimed with excitement, looking at her right wrist where she had received a Venom wristband as a gift during the show. "It was definitely better than I expected," Izuku said with a smile, looking at Toga. In return, he received a Venom hoodie. "Please say it again," Toga requested with a coquettish smile and a pleading look. "Not again, Toga," Izuku tried to refuse. "Just one more time, and you'll get a reward," the blonde insisted with a coquettish smile while licking her lips, which proved to be too tempting for Izuku, and he finally sighed, giving in to his girlfriend's request. Izuku put on a more serious and sinister expression and looked intensely at Toga while smiling. "We are Venom," Izuku said with a distorted, monstrous voice, causing Toga to scream with excitement and applause. He blushed as he also received applause from other fans leaving the theater. It looks just like you. You just need a symbiote, and you'd definitely become famous, Izuku, Toga exclaimed with a big smile, looking at Izuku, who smiled somewhat nervously as he couldn't imagine himself coexisting with a symbiote as unique as Venom. And now, your reward for making your girlfriend happy, Toga said with a small smile. She then stood on tiptoes, placed her hands on Izuku's chest, and gave him a sweet, gentle kiss on the lips before happily pulling away, causing Izuku to smile just like her. Later, Izuku appeared pensive, looking at the ground, which intrigued Toga. I would have liked to see this movie with my friends, Izuku said with a small smile, surprising the spies who were eavesdropping from some tables. Come to think of it, I've never met your friends, Izuku, Toga commented, placing a finger on her chin, recalling the fact that Izuku had met all her friends. I've offered Todoroki, Ida, and Kacchan to accompany me to introduce you to them, but they all have their own things going on, Izuku responded with a slight smile, rubbing the back of his neck. The quiet two-tone-haired guy, the glasses-wearing class president, and your childhood friend with a complicated attitude, right? Toga asked with a smile. That's right. I'm just glad Kacchan didn't hear about it, Izuku replied, somewhat nervous, feeling a shiver down his spine, while Ojiro and Sero were holding back the angry ash blonde who was about to cause a scene. Fortunately, they managed to stop him. But it's also our fault for keeping our relationship a secret for these 4 years we've been together, Toga said playfully, crossing her hands behind her back and tilting her head to one side innocently. This left the group of spies shocked, with their jaws dropping, and Mineta and Sero even fainted with their eyes rolling back from the surprise. Izuku agreed with Toga, as he had deliberately kept his relationship a secret from all his friends. The main reason was that it wasn't a priority for him given the events that had happened in his first year and the time he spent studying for the second-year exams. When he decided to introduce Toga to his closest friends, Todoroki, Kacchan, and Ida, he received a refusal from each of them. Todoroki had his studies, Ida was too busy being class president and dealing with family matters, and Kacchan, well, he just rudely ignored them as usual or yelled at them to stop blabbering and leave him alone. Anyway, let's go somewhere else. Would you like some ice cream? Izuku asked Toga, looking animated as before, causing Toga to smile happily and hug his arm. You know the answer, Toga replied cheerfully, and they both started walking towards the exit of the cinema. Back with Izuku's group of friends, Kyoko was lightly slapping Sero to wake him up until he jolted awake. 4 years? Midoriya has been dating that beauty for 4 years, and we never knew, Sero exclaimed, shocked and surprised, bringing his hands to his head in comedic despair. I don't know how to react to this. I was supposed to be the one who knew everything, Mina said with a grim expression, a blue and black aura of depression surrounding her as she squatted in a corner, drawing circles on the ground with her finger. Damn you, Midoriya. You got to see Venom, and we had to stay outside. Lucky bastard, Kirishima said, next to the pink-haired girl, in the same depressed state, drawing the word Venom on the ground. I think I should have accepted to go with Midoriya. Now I feel somewhat bad for not doing it, Todoroki said with a calm expression, but he was a little embarrassed for not accompanying his friend, despite the times he had offered. Don't worry, you had no idea that he was planning to introduce her, Momo told her boyfriend, trying to comfort him as she patted his shoulder. Stop whining and let's follow them before they get away, Bakugo told the rest, frowning, as he started walking, leading the others. Now, the green-haired boy and the blonde girl were walking through a park, holding hands, each with an ice cream cone they had bought a few minutes earlier. Toga had chocolate ice cream while Izuku had strawberry. And how's your mom, Izuku? I haven't heard from her in days, Toga said with a childish smile, turning her head towards her boyfriend. She's fine. She's currently on a trip with Yagi-san. It still seems strange to me that my teacher is now my dad, replied Izuku with a nervous smile, while Toga laughed, remembering the fact that the man she admired the most had married her mother. Ha ha, I still remember when you passed out when you heard the news, the blonde said, recalling the smoke coming out of Izuku's head when he fainted in the living room, only to be helped by her and her mother, while Toshinori chuckled at his student's reaction. I talked to them yesterday, and they said they want you to join us for dinner when they come back, the green-haired guy said with a gentle smile, making Toga even happier. I'd love that. I hope it's not a problem if I bring my cousin Tomura, Toga replied, remembering that her silver-haired cousin had come for a visit, taking a break from his job as a manager. Not at all. Tomura-kun can help me beat the last level of Dark Souls. After all, he's the one who lent it to me, Izuku said, recalling the afternoons when he, Shigaraki, and Toga played video games and watched movies. The silver-haired guy always chose horror movies to scare Izuku, with Toga playing the brave one. "Don't forget, I own the game, so I'll be the one to help you," declared Toga with a self-satisfied smile, raising her ice cream and the hand holding Izuku's to strike a pose, praising the sun. "I guess that's the right way," Izuku said, truly in love with Toga's unique personality and every gesture she made. "Wait a moment, Izuku, you have something on your lips," Toga said, causing Izuku to look at her curiously. "What? Where is it?" Izuku asked, putting his hand on his face, but Toga stopped him with her hand. "Stay still, let me get it for you," she said playfully, leaning in to lick a bit of strawberry ice cream from his lips. This surprised Izuku and the spies watching from the bushes, while Mineta fell out of a tree, his forehead hitting the ground due to the surprise/envy of the scene. Then Kirishima and Kaminari quickly pulled their hands out of the bush in a terrifying manner to grab Mineta's feet and drag him away to prevent him from seeing the couple. "You're still very bold in public," blushed Izuku, with a nervous smile as he looked at the blonde who gazed at him mischievously. "You shouldn't act innocent after all the things you've done to me," Toga replied flirtatiously, winking at the green-haired guy, leaving the spy group to wonder what she meant. Mineta wanted to jump out of the tree again, and the girls in the group blushed at the thought of the green-haired guy in compromising situations. "If you put it that way, people might misunderstand," Izuku said, sweating a bit from nervousness. "There's nothing to misunderstand, and no one's paying attention to us," Toga replied simply, shrugging her shoulders, and then continued eating her ice cream while holding Izuku's hand. "I guess you're right. So, where do you want to go now?" Izuku asked his girlfriend, who looked at him with stars in her eyes, exclaiming. "To the arcade." The blonde replied with excitement, then hurried on, dragging Izuku along, who did his best not to drop his ice cream, but still smiled with joy at Toga's enthusiasm. And so, their date continued, observed by the spy group. They went to the arcade, then to the zoo, where a lion tried to harm Mineta but was thwarted by a cage, and finally, the couple visited the mall, passing by video game, comic, and manga stores. Kirishima, Kaminari, Sero, and Ojiro were more interested in the merchandise than in spying on the couple. As the evening approached, the green-haired guy and the blonde were leaving the mall, holding hands. Izuku carried a bag of games, comics, and manga they had purchased, while Toga had a chocolate shake that they were sharing. "I really have an amazing time with you, Toga," Izuku said with a warm smile, squeezing her hand affectionately. "I like it when you get mushy at the right moments," blushed Toga, smiling happily as she also squeezed the green-haired guy's hand. After those words, they both stopped in their tracks and gazed at each other. The sunset illuminated one side of their faces, creating a magical scene, which Mina described as very romantic and made her wish to have a similar moment with Kirishima, embarrassing the redhead a bit. "I love you, Toga," Izuku said to his girl as he closed the distance between them. Toga looked somewhat small next to the green-haired guy, but she still gazed at him with those beautiful yellow eyes and rosy cheeks. "And I love you, Izuku," Toga replied, and then both shared a magical moment where the light of the sunset was eclipsed by their lips meeting, until the sun set, and they separated a couple of minutes later to catch their breath. "How about we go to our special place now?" Toga asked with a flirtatious and seductive smile, sliding a finger along the green-haired guy's torso, up his neck, and stopping at his lips, causing Izuku to smile. "With pleasure," Izuku replied, and then they both began to walk to another destination, while the group of the green-haired guy's friends remained hidden behind a corner. "What do you think they mean by that?" Uraka asked the others while tilting her head in curiosity. "There's only one way to find out, right?" Mina said with an animated smile, placing her hands on her hips. "Don't you think we should stop? After all, we've already fulfilled our objective a long time ago," Kyoka suggested, while Kirishima and Momo agreed. "I agree, we've invaded Midoriya's privacy enough, and it's time to stop spying on the couple," Todoroki said calmly, thinking it was time to leave the couple alone. "Shut up, Two-Face. I'll decide when it's enough." Bakugo replied angrily, then walked with his hands in his pockets, following the same path as the couple. "Well, you guys can investigate, but I have to go to bed early to train in the morning. Good luck," Ojiro told his friends, then left the scene. "I don't have the energy to watch Midoriya be happy with that sexy blonde anymore," Sero said, with a depressive aura around him, then followed Ojiro, with his arms hanging and his head looking at the ground. "As the representative of the singles, I have a duty to observe everything until the end," Mineta exclaimed heroically, as if his last hope in life was to see something lewd with his own eyes. If you expect them to do something dirty, I advise you to give up. It's impossible for Midoriya to go that far, Momo told the short guy calmly, having complete certainty that her friend wouldn't go to the extreme that Mineta imagined. Minutes later, the raven-haired girl would be doubtful about her previous comment, as they had followed the couple to what seemed to be an area more suited for adults, with love hotels and sex shops around. Izuku and Toga walked through the streets without paying attention to those things. Please tell me we're not where I think we are, Momo said, her forehead turning blue, with a trembling smile, and her cheeks truly rosy. Yeah, we're in front of many love hotels and shops with not-so-pure themes, Mina replied with a stone-faced expression, as if she had run out of expressions or reactions. Does that mean Midoriya and she did? Kyoka tried to ask, her face completely red and unable to finish the question due to nerves, until she felt a hand on her shoulder and turned to see Kaminari nodding seriously. Then everyone watched as Izuku and Toga entered a place, and from the group's perspective, it appeared they had entered a love hotel. This was the limit to which they could go. That's it, we're leaving now and we'll see you in the dorms, Todoroki told the rest as he took Momo's hand to lead her away. The raven-haired girl was blushing and bewildered, allowing her boyfriend to guide her. We're leaving too. This got out of hand while spying on the lucky Midoriya, Kaminari said wearily, taking Kyoka's hands to follow Todoroki and Momo. Jiru remained completely red, struggling to process that Midoriya had entered a love hotel with Toga. I'll never look at Midoriya the same way again, he's definitely very manly, Kirishima said, clenching his fist with newfound respect for the green-haired guy. He then took Mina's hand and led her away, with the pink-haired girl wearing the same stone-faced expression and trying to figure out how she would look at Izuku in class after what she had just witnessed. Mineta wanted to cry but knew there was a better way to drown his sorrows, his computer, his magazines, and a box of tissues. With that in mind, the purple-haired guy began following the rest towards the dorms. They were all leaving only Uraka and Bakugo. The ash blonde was looking seriously at the place where everyone saw the couple enter. Katsuki-kun, are you okay? Uraka asked her boyfriend as she approached him, somewhat worried. But she wasn't expecting to be met with a sudden and forceful kiss from Bakugo, who embraced her waist to pull her closer and deepen the kiss. The stunned brunette had wide eyes as Bakugo held her. They remained in that position until Bakugo released her to give her some space and turned his gaze in another direction. His cheeks were slightly flushed, while Uraka turned completely red from nervousness. What are you doing? Uraka asked with a nervous smile, shaking her hands in front of her, unable to believe that her boyfriend had taken the initiative to steal her first kiss in the month they had been dating. I don't plan to fall behind Todoroki or Deku, Bakugo replied, putting his hands in his pockets, trying to act cool while Uraka was left somewhat stunned. Even so, don't think you're taking me to one of these places, Uraka warned Bakugo, her face red with embarrassment. She then turned around and followed her friends to the dorms. Bakugo just smirked at her reaction and followed her, staying about a meter behind her until everyone had finally left. Now, we moved to Izuku and Toga, who were coming out of a regular pharmacy and noticed that all of Izuku's friends had left. In the end, we completely fooled them, Toga said to Izuku with a playful smile, as they had noticed for hours that they were being followed. So, they decided to play a prank on their friends by making them think they had entered a love hotel. Fortunately, thanks to the perspective, they didn't notice the bright sign of the pharmacy they had actually entered. Izuku nodded in amusement, looking at Toga. They had done a great job tricking them. So, what did you think of my friends? He asked the blonde, wanting to hear her opinion. They're really funny, I like them, Toga replied with a cheerful smile, thinking she could get along well with them. It's a relief that they decided not to follow us any further, or they would have uncovered the ruse, the green-haired guy commented with relief. Well, we could make it a reality to be more convincing, Toga suggested with a flirtatious smile and a seductive look as she wrapped her arms around Izuku's neck and got closer to him. He turned red with embarrassment and nerves. I think it's not appropriate for us to do that here, Izuku stammered, looking around nervously, causing Toga to giggle. It was just a joke, silly, Toga said, amused by Izuku's cute and funny reaction, which she always enjoyed provoking. After calming down, Izuku's expression turned affectionate and genuinely happy as he wrapped his arms around his girlfriend's waist, bringing her closer to him. They both touched their foreheads and closed their eyes. I really love you, Toga, Izuku said, with affection in his tone. And I love you more, Izuku, Toga responded in the same manner. They looked into each other's eyes and shared a loving kiss before parting. You know, it's only 10 o'clock, and we still have an hour. What do you want to do now? Izuku asked Toga, who appeared thoughtful with her hand on her chin. What if we watch Venom again? Toga suggested, smiling at Izuku, who sighed with a smile. Wouldn't it be better if we take a walk in the park? Izuku asked as he held the bag of their earlier purchases. That's a good idea too, Toga replied with a sweet smile. They headed towards the nearest park. Do you think they'll follow us again tomorrow? Toga asked her boyfriend with curiosity, catching his attention. No, I'm sure that after today, they had enough to know that you're my girlfriend, Izuku said calmly. I like the way you say it again, Toga requested, her gaze fixed on her boyfriend. He smiled as he complied. You are my girlfriend, Izuku said, with a more intense and passionate tone, which brought immense happiness to Toga. That's right, I am Izuku's girlfriend, Toga declared with a victorious air, squeezing Izuku's hand affectionately. Then they continued to walk carefree and happy, having a great time together and enjoying the remaining time of their date. It was another special day for the couple, while for Izuku's friends, it would be the day they discovered who had stolen Izuku's heart. End of the chapter.